So what happens when developers, the folks actually building things, get really frustrated with AI tools? Tools that promise the world, like making them way faster, but end up, well, slowing them down.
Yeah, it's a fascinating dynamic. They don't just tweet about it. They actually roll up their sleeves and build their own solutions,
Yeah.
their own frameworks to fix the AI that was meant to fix their code in the first place.
Exactly. And that brings us to today's deep dive. We're looking into this story of SuperClaude. It's this grassroots open source framework, and it's sort of quietly becoming the developer community's response to what a lot of them see as, well, big tech's broken AI promises.
Right, and this dive is really about getting under the hood of that tension. You've got these bold claims from the big enterprise AI tools on one side, and then the gritty, sometimes frustrating reality that developers face every day on the other. We're going to be pulling insights from, research studies, lots of community discussions, even internal docs from SuperClaude itself.
The goal here, our mission, is really to unpack why. Why are developers building these extra layers on top of tools that are already making, hundreds of millions of dollars?
It's a huge question.
It is. And, thinking about this, have you ever had that feeling with some tech where it promises so much, but using it just feels harder, slower?
Yeah, definitely. We've all been there.
That exact feeling, that frustration, it's right at the heart of this SuperClaude story. And it's a feeling a lot of developers using these new AI tools seem to know really well.
Okay, so let's start with this. Well, it's almost a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah, it really seems like one. Because on the one hand, you see these studies painting this amazing picture of productivity gains.
Right, like the MIT and Princeton one, they looked at GitHub Copilot, found a 26% productivity boost. That's substantial.
And Atlassian's survey from 2025, 99% of developers reporting time savings.
Yeah.
And what was it, 68% saving like 10 plus hours a week?
Yeah, huge numbers. And GitHub itself says 97% adoption among developers. Those figures sound absolutely revolutionary.
They really do. It makes it sound like AI has completely solved developer productivity.
But then you look at other research, like the METR study from July 2025, and this is where it gets complicated, especially for experienced developers.
Okay, what did that one find?
It found they actually work 19% slower when using these AI tools.
Wait, slower? 19% slower?
19% slower. And here's the kicker.
Uh-oh.
Those same developers thought they were working 20% faster.
Wow. Okay, that's profound, isn't it? The tool makes you feel super productive, but you're actually losing ground.
Exactly. It's a massive psychological disconnect. Maybe it's the quick wins, the boilerplate code getting filled in fast. It creates this illusion of speed.
While hiding the time spent debugging weird AI suggestions or just figuring out what it actually did.
Precisely. And that erodes trust, fundamentally. The experience doesn't match the reality.
And it's not just about speed, is it? Because feeling fast but being slow is one problem, but there are other impacts too, right, on the actual code.
Oh, absolutely. It goes deeper. UpLevel looked at 800 developers. They found no significant overall productivity gains, but get this, a 41% increase in bugs.
41%. Ouch. That's that's a big red flag for quality.
Huge. And then there's GitClear. They analyzed like 153 million lines of code. They found what they called AI-induced technical debt.
Meaning?
More code churn, code getting rewritten or thrown out more often, more copy-paste patterns, which is usually bad news, and generally code that's just harder to maintain over time.
So it's potentially making the code base messier and harder to work with long term.
That's the concern. It's not just about today's speed, it's about tomorrow's problems.
Okay, so if developers are dealing with slower real speeds, more bugs, more tech debt,
Yeah.
what's the human cost here? It sounds pretty stressful.
It really is. The source material highlights that 76% of developers are in what they term the red zone.
Meaning they're frequently encountering AI hallucinations.
Yeah.
The AI just making stuff up and having low confidence in the results it gives them.
Yeah. Imagine trying to build something critical when you can't fully trust your main assistant. It must be exhausting.
Yeah, that constant doubt.
And adding to that, 63% feel their leadership just doesn't get it. They don't understand these pain points. That number's up from 44% last year, by the way.
Wow, that gap is widening. So you've got developers struggling, feeling misunderstood, while management might be seeing the flashy marketing about 10x gains.
Exactly. It's the perfect storm, as you said. It fosters this environment where developers feel they have to take matters into their own hands.
Which leads us directly to SuperClaude.
Precisely. It's crucial to see SuperClaude not as an attempt to replace AI like Claude Code, but to make it actually work better for developers, addressing these specific frustrations.
Right. In SuperClaude, the V3 launched in 2025, it really stands out. And not just for what it does, but for its, well, its honesty, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. That's one of the most striking things. You look at their documentation, and unlike the usual hype, they actually admit stuff like AI assistants don't always pick perfectly.
Huh. Yeah, and that they work pretty well when they connect properly, with a crossed fingers emoji.
Exactly. That kind of transparency is, well, it's almost revolutionary in this space. It builds instant credibility with developers who are tired of the overpromising.
So how does it actually try to fix things? How does it enhance tools like Claude Code?
It tackles it through three main components. First, it offers 16 specialized commands. These are designed to map directly onto common developer workflows.
Okay, so things like se.implement or se.build for actually writing code.
Right, or se.analyze, se.troubleshoot, se.explain for understanding code.
And even quality stuff like se.improve, se.test, se.cleanup, plus commands for docs, Git, estimating tasks. It sounds very targeted.
Very targeted at real-world tasks. Second, it has 11 cognitive personas. Think of these as specialized AI assistants within the assistant.
So, like, you could invoke an architect persona for system design.
Exactly. There's ORS Architect, a front-end for UI UX, Shrimp backend for APIs, Seat Analyzer for debugging, Kala Security, plus others. It recognizes that coding isn't monolithic. Different tasks need different kinds of thinking.
That makes a lot of sense, like having different specialists on your team. What's the third piece?
The third is MCP server integration. This is really key. It connects SuperClaude to 4 other specialized tools.
Okay, what are those?
There's Context 7, which pulls in official library docs and best practices so the AI has better context. Sequential, which helps the AI tackle complex, multi-step problems by breaking them down. Magic, which focuses on generating modern UI components quickly. And Playwright, which handles browser automation and testing, letting the AI sort of use a web browser to check things.
And this MCP integration that uses the Model Context Protocol, which our sources call the USB-C for AI applications. That sounds significant.
It is, because MCP is rapidly becoming a standard. We're talking OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, they're all adopting it.
So it creates a universal way for different AI tools and services to talk to each other.
Exactly, which means SuperClaude, by using MCT, can potentially plug into this much wider ecosystem of AI capabilities. It's not locked into just one vendor's world.
So putting it all together, what's really striking about SuperClaude is that the community didn't try to build a whole new AI model from scratch.
Right. They built an enhancement layer. They looked at powerful tools like Claude Code and said, okay, the engine is strong, but the controls are clunky, the experience is frustrating. Let's fix that.
They just wanted it to be more reliable, more usable day to day.
Which brings us nicely to Claude Code itself. Because to really get why SuperClaude emerged, you need to understand the context of the tool it's enhancing.
Right. From a business standpoint, Claude Code is undeniably a massive success story.
Oh, huge. Over $200 million in annualized revenue, 3 million weekly downloads. That's apparently 6x growth just since June 2025. It's a big part of Anthropic's potential $100 billion valuation.
And enterprises are paying, what, $200 a month for the max plans? So adoption is clearly high, driven by that enterprise push.
Absolutely. It's a commercial juggernaut. But talk to the users, and you hear a different story sometimes.
Yeah, that disconnect again. Like in July 2025, developers started reporting hitting unexpected usage limits. Suddenly, without warning.
Even max plan users paying that $200 a month found the service just stopped working mid-task.
Oof. Imagine being on a deadline, paying top dollar for a tool, and it just cuts out.
Yeah.
That's more than frustrating. It's a major trust breaker.
Definitely. And Anthropic's response, acknowledging slower response times, probably didn't cut it for developers needing reliability now at that price point.
It really highlights how a tool can be crushing it commercially, but still leave its core users feeling let down.
And it's not like they don't have options. The sources mentioned Cursor, a competitor hitting $500 million ARR. Loyalty isn't guaranteed if the experience is bad.
And interestingly, many of these tools, Cursor included, are actually using Claude models, specifically Sonnet, under the hood, right?
That's a key point. The underlying AI models are converging. So the real battleground isn't just the AI's raw intelligence anymore. It's shifting towards user experience, reliability, the interface.
Which makes something like SuperClaude, essentially acting as a better interface or wrapper around that powerful engine, incredibly relevant.
Exactly. It's less about which engine and more about how you drive it.
Okay, so let's go back to this MCP, the USB-C for AI. You mentioned it's becoming a standard.
Yeah, it's solving a big headache for developers. The NIM integration problem. Basically, needing custom connectors for every single tool pair. MCP aims to be a universal standard.
And adoption is exploding. OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, plus companies like Block, Apollo, Riplet, SourceGraph.
Right. It means frameworks like SuperClaude aren't just enhancing one tool. They could potentially work with any AI tool that speaks MCP. It opens up huge possibilities for interoperability.
That sounds amazing for flexibility.
Yeah.
But more connections, more power. That usually comes with more risk, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Extensibility is often a double-edged sword, and security researchers are already pointing out issues.
What kind of issues?
Well, multiple outstanding security issues is the phrase used. The big ones are things like prompt injection attacks, tricking the AI into doing malicious things by crafting clever inputs.
Okay, I've heard those.
Then there are tool permissions, vulnerabilities, the AI gaining access to things it shouldn't, like files or services, and also lookalike tools, malicious tools disguising themselves as trusted ones within the MCP ecosystem.
These aren't just theoretical, right? If these AI tools can access your file system, your code repositories, your cloud accounts.
The potential is catastrophic. Imagine a rogue code formatter secretly sending your source code off somewhere, or an extension stealing your login credentials.
Yikes, that's serious.
It is. Now, the MCP working group is aware of this and actively working on fixes, but it highlights this fundamental tension. The more powerful and flexible we make these AI tools, the higher the security stakes become.
So SuperClaude's creators, are they thinking about this?
They seem to be. The sources mention built-in permission controls and transparency features, trying to give developers more control over what the enhanced AI can actually do.
Which brings up a really important question for everyone listening, especially developers. How do you weigh that trade-off? Are we willing to accept some level of security risk for the power and flexibility these integrated tools offer? Where's the right balance?
It's a critical question we're all going to be grappling with. And SuperClaude, really, it represents more than just another tool. It feels like a signal of a bigger shift, doesn't it?
Yeah, it feels like the developer community is saying, okay, we're not just going to passively accept whatever the big companies give us. We're going to take control of how we use these tools.
Exactly. And it's not just SuperClaude. You see similar patterns elsewhere. Windsurf Editor enhancing Codium, modifications happening within the Cursor community, hundreds of these open source MCP servers popping up.
It suggests that maybe the next wave of innovation in AI tooling won't just come from the big labs at Google or OpenAI. It's coming from the grassroots.
Yeah.
From the edges.
Developers are essentially saying, your AI models are powerful, great, but we demand control over the interaction. We want transparency. We want honesty about the limitations. SuperClaude really embodies that spirit.
With its open source nature, its modularity, its community focus, and, as we discussed, its refreshingly honest take on performance.
And this whole trend, it really should be a wake-up call for the big AI companies, shouldn't it?
You'd think so. I mean, if developers feel the need to build entire frameworks just to make your multi-million-dollar product usable, that's sending a pretty strong message about your user experience.
It strongly implies that tools like Claude Code, despite their commercial success, could be significantly better, more developer-centric.
But it also shows something positive, right? The maturity of the developer community. They're not just ditching imperfect toolers, they're being pragmatic.
Yeah, they're taking ownership. They're saying, okay, this is powerful but flawed. Let's fix the flaws. They're driving the industry forward through their own ingenuity.
So looking ahead, how might this play out? The sources suggested a few possible futures.
Yeah, three main scenarios seem plausible. One, community enhancement just becomes the norm. Every major AI tool gets its own SuperClaude-like layer built by users.
Okay, second.
Second, the enterprise tools wise up and start absorbing these community innovations. Companies like Anthropic could officially integrate SuperClaude-style features into Claude Code itself.
Makes sense. And the third.
Third, we see divergent ecosystems develop. Community-driven tools like SuperClaude become so powerful and popular, they actually emerge as serious competitive alternatives to the big enterprise offerings.
Interesting. Three very different paths.
Whichever way it goes, SuperClaude stands as this really powerful symbol. It's developers refusing to be just passive consumers.
Right. Becoming active creators of their own better development experiences using AI.
And whether this grassroots energy ends up shaping the mainstream tools or creating its own path, one thing seems crystal clear.
What's that?
The future of AI tooling is going to be increasingly shaped by these demands from developers. Demands for transparency, for control, and for an honest acknowledgement of what these tools can and crucially cannot do.
So the developer rebellion against those sometimes broken AI promises, it feels like it's really just getting started. It's going to be fascinating to see where it leads.